which another cookie. This is all he's gonna get because that's the last. This is the last one for real. He's gonna go and bury it. We've had 4 days in a row with downpours, flash flooding in Arizona. 4 days in a row. Okay, that would be another topic. Happy Columbus Day. Now, what I want to say is, why is it still Columbus Day? I asked that 50 years ago. Plus, why is it Columbus Day? Leif Erikson was here 500 years before Columbus. Why cannot we have the history that we're supposed to have? Why? Because our history has basically been tainted. Don't want to say it's a lie. There's some half-truths involved, but it's been tainted. I forgot my glasses, but I do have my magnifying glass. Who is this? Hey, Sanjoy, Simple Daily Life. Hi, good morning. Hey, Sanjoy, Simple Life. I like that. So what we have is Happy Columbus Day. It's even a national holiday for municipal people. They get paid for it. Or no, it's called Indigenous Day. They keep changing the name of it. But calendar, I guess it's Columbus Day, but it's Indigenous Day. Gaming official. I believe you are YTTG90. 90. Welcome. What we have is Columbus Day that we're being force fed with again. I hope the kids are actually reading the true stories on their history books now, and that's why I wanted to go over real fast. I've done this in the past, but since it's Columbus Day, I figured I could do it one more time because it's as crazy as it gets. And not only that, I was only 10 years of experience on this planet, 10 years of experience, and I didn't know I was learning political issues at that time on so many different levels, let alone truths. Well, let's just say stuff we were being taught in school that wasn't truthful. I learned that in 10 years of experience. So this is the last one for this guy. He doesn't understand it, but this is it, buddy boy. He's gonna go bury it. He's running off, gonna go bury it. We got wet land all over here. 4 days in a row. Flash flooding. He's dug so many holes. Getting back to, it's gonna be the thumbnail, Columbus Day, all right? And my question is, if the Vikings were here 500 years before Columbus, how come we keep pushing Columbus? Now, I know there's a lot of negative things said about Columbus, but then again, you gotta think about it. Our history has been rewritten. And I believe Columbus to be a great person. And all the negative things they're saying about him, you got to wonder. I know when people become beacons of light, let's say, there's always some people that are naysayers and going to kick them all the way down. Or like to pull them off the pedestal. Not that you should put anybody on a pedestal, because as soon as you do, all these stars and everybody that's up on a pedestal, they can't wait to rip you down. And that's why fame is fleeting. So back to the thumbnail. Happy Columbus Day. So I'm going to go backwards on this one because I went to 4 different 4th grades. And I want to ask you a question. What is the chances of going to 4 different 4th grades, let alone 2,500 miles apart, going 10,000 miles to finish your 4 4th grades? That in itself would be a feat in itself. So I'm starting backwards with Kenilworth School in Arizona. This is like 1964. I get a D minus. Now, mind you, it's the same test. Going in reverse, I get a B plus. coming, that's from here going to Jersey, coming back out here again was Tonalea School in Scottsdale District. I got a B. And then I originally started at a Raritan, New Jersey. I got a B. On the same stinking Christopher Columbus test. Who discovered America? See? What are the chances of 4 fourth grades? After each report card, I went to another 4th grade. And every time I got to that next 4th grade, I had the same test, the same wording. Nothing changed. No questions were changed, except my answers. So, hold on. Who's this? Saddam Kumar. Hey, Saddam Kumar. I believe you're from India. And who else did I miss here? Okay, gaming, I got you. Enjoy simple day life. Okay, so we got a couple people saying hi. Fantastic. Hey, BXP, what's going on? Muchacho. What's going on is happy Columbus Day. And I'm saying, is it really a Columbus Day? So now, I just told you I started from in reverse on my grade. My grade that I was getting on the same test in 4th grade at the 4 different 4th grades. So let's start out from the beginning. Raritan, New Jersey. I got a B. No big deal. I put Christopher Columbus discovered America. Okay. Now after that report card, we went 2,500 miles to Scottsdale, Arizona. It was Tonalea School. And for all those people that have listened to this story before, I'm going to throw a little exchange in there that I didn't talk about before. My second 4th grade was pretty amazing because we had the best food that I ever had out of all 20 of my schools that I went to. Yes, I went to 20 schools and I did graduate. But in my second 4th grade, it was the best food. It was all home cooked food. And it was amazing. So that was memorable. Plus, I won all the championships of climbing the rope. As you well know or not, that I had a rope in the middle of my living room in my 1st grade, and I had to climb a rope up and down all the time. And then all the schools I went to at that time period in PE, there was always ropes. So I was already ahead of the game. I was climbing ropes faster than anybody. So by the time I got to my second 4th grade, they had championships, and I won both of them, going up faster and down. I mean, they were kind of amazed because a lot of the kids could barely climb a rope. And you kids out there now, I hope you were able to climb a rope, because this is back in the 60s when physical education was a big thing. John F. Kennedy was involved in making kids strong. Now we don't have kids. I look around and they don't look very strong. They don't look like they could do 3 push-ups, let alone climb a rope. That's what I'm saying. All you kids out there, start doing push-ups, chin-ups, as I said before, climb a rope. It's going to get you in building mode to where by the time you get to my experience, you'll still be able to climb a rope. Hey, there's no more, buddy boy. I told you. He doesn't believe me, but I really don't have any more cookies for him. So if you stay in shape now, as you have less experience, by the time you get to my experience, you'll still be able to climb a rope. And I promise I'm going to do this on video to show you guys that I'm not lying about this. I got a big Navy rope that I can still climb. So we are now in my second, fourth grade in Tonalea, Scottsdale. So the other memorable thing was for me was see Nancy. We were living at Nancy's house off of Hubble Street. It was only a few blocks from Tonalea School. If you look that up in Scottsdale, Hubble Street. So I learned a few more things in that fourth grade, my second fourth grade. That Christmas time was great because we got a bunch of reindeers, blow-up reindeers, and it was really nice presents that we got. Not that we were poor, but we got more presents that year than I did in a lot of the years, all right? And that also was to where I learned that friendship is, you might think you have a friend, but you really don't. It's just an acquaintance. And maybe you don't even have an acquaintance. Maybe you just got a blob. That means that somebody just hangs out, you know? Nothing against blobs, but You got to know who your friends are. That's all. So when I came home to mom. I'm crying. Yeah, I'm 10 years old. I'm not crying, but I'm complaining. Mom, because Joey, two houses down, he had like the big. He had all. He was. I guess they were kind of rich. They had all the GI Joes. You know, the big ones, the Fishman. I mean, he had all the. He had all this great stuff, and all I had was army men, and I cherished my army men. I had green ones, I had yellow ones, I had blue ones. I love the blue ones. I don't know why. They had hand grenades, they had the machine guns. I don't know, all you people don't. I know what you're saying, but army men were great. I shot them down with rubber bands. I got very accurate. We had wars against each other. It was just kid stuff. But Joey says, "Can I borrow some of your army men? I'll give them right back to you tomorrow. I promise." And I said, "Hey, you know what? You can have my best ones, my blue ones." So he comes back the next day. It's in the same bag, but they're all melted down. It was like there was a fire or something. I mean, these guys were not the same. There were casualties, a lot of casualties. Who's saying something here? There is a lot of leeches out there that will extract things out of you. Well, yeah, it's called, well, leeches is a good word. There are people that'll absorb your energy, which would be another story. I've got a few of those. But now Joey comes back with my bag of my, well, I think my best army men, my blue ones. And I look at them and I see they're all melted down. And I said, "What did you do?" He says, "I needed casualties. I needed the casualties, that's all." I said, "But you didn't give, I, that was it. No more friendship with Joey." And I went into my mom and I'm sort of like, "Yeah, Mom, look what he did to my mom." He said, I said, "Joey, my friend, gives back my blue army men, but they're not the same. They're all melted down. He needed casualties." She says, "Well, first of all, it's your fault." I said, "Mom, it's because I said, it's Joey's fault." And she said, "No, it's your fault." I said, "Mom, how's it my fault?" She says, "Because you said Joey was your friend. Joey was your friend. And what did you do? You gave them something, well, from your heart that you cherished, and you thought that he had, well, the capability of bringing them back to you in the same order. But he didn't. He gave you back something that was less quality than you gave him. So what you have to understand is it is your fault that you accepted him as a friend. You accepted him as, you put too much responsibility on this friend." And that's what we do sometimes, kids. Anybody's watching. We bring in people in our circle that are friends. We think they're friends. And then when they let us down, we're like all upset and excited about it. But if you think about it, you gave that individual too much responsibility. They couldn't uphold their end, and they really weren't a friend. They could have been just an acquaintance. They could have been a blob. They could have been anybody that you didn't anticipate. And that's the way it goes. Nothing you can do about it. So take care on the friendships that you, that's my friend. And that's another thing. Add a history. A lot of history shows that the people that are the closest to them, supposable friends, are the ones that betray them. You're betrayed. A lot of people betray you that are your friend. I'll go into that another time. There's a bucket load of people that I can go through, okay? The next thing on my second for fourth grade in Scottsdale, Arizona at Tonalea School was another memorable moment that we were going to go to the drive-in. It was a roundup drive-in. It was only like a mile and a half from the house. It doesn't exist. It was a big cowboy with a big lasso. It was right off of Thomas there. Some people might remember it if you were out in Phoenix. They got rid of it, I think, in the 80s, but it was a gigantic cowboy with a lasso all lit up. It was a drive-in theater, and I think they sold it to Vegas. Vegas still might have it. So, hey, what do we got here? Rebecca Real. Hey, so true. I'm glad you agree, Rebecca. Welcome aboard, everyone that's come so far. So we're going to go to this drive-in. Now, in the past, I told you about me growing up as an Italian, on my Italian side anyway. They were both grandmother and grandfather were both Italian. My other side, they weren't. God bless them. So we got two sides of the family. One, the Italian side was bringing me up to understand. They were Sicilian, but that I don't know, think that has anything to do with it. But they were bringing me up at a young age, like three, not age, but of experience. 3 years of 3 years of experience. They were teaching me to scare people. And how good a 3-year-old? How positive can you be at a 3-year-old? And the law was that you had to scare people to make them pee or poo their pants. I kid you not. So so yeah, not kidding. So when I was 3, 4, okay, I was 4. I wasn't very positive with scaring anyone at 3, but when I got to 4, I adopted some things to where I was more sneaky. I could crawl on the floor. I can go around the back of them. Anyway, so I told you the story before where I got behind the it was a 5-acre chicken farm in Pluckham, New Jersey, Grandpa's place, and Aunt Nancy, who were now living at her house, but this is now before then. At 4 years old, I climb up behind the. These grapes were hanging down. They were fantastic grapes. While she's eating some grapes, I get her behind her and I go, blah! And she stood up, starts screaming, and she peed her pants. Now, all my aunts and my uncles were cheering, yeah, yeah, yeah. And as a 4-year of experience, I thought that was fantastic, that I actually got this to where I was able to do my job well. And so that was Aunt Nancy peeing her pants in front of everybody, and I won the game. But the game was pee or poo, but you can't scare them to where you don't scare them to death. I guess you'd lose the game then, you know. There's some probably other things that would come into it too. So now we're back years later. When I was 4, now I'm 10. We're sitting in the car ready to go to this drive-in theater, the Roundup Drive-In Theater. So bro is next to Aunt Nancy. Aunt Nancy's in the middle. She's eating a peach, and I'm next to her. And Dad comes in, sits in or something, and I don't know. Dad was a real funny guy, and he said something, and all of a sudden Aunt Nancy, you know, she's finishing her peach, and all of a sudden she, well, he said something funny. She starts laughing, and bro starts laughing. I didn't think it was that funny. Both of them thought it was so funny. Bro says, "Oh no, I peed my pants." My bro was saying this. Nancy says, "Oh no, I peed my pants." So both my aunt and my brother peeing their pants over some stupid joke my dad said, which I can't even remember because I wasn't laughing. So now while she's laughing, she swallows a peach pit. Now she can't breathe. You know, it looks like she's ready to go here. So Dad gets out of the car. I get out of the car. He grabs Aunt Nancy, gives her the Heimlich. Out comes the peach pit. My point being, I thought I was such a great child at 4 years of experience to make my Aunt Nancy pee her pants. But obviously, she could pee her pants during being scared or being happy. People do that. Something with emotions. They laugh so hard they pee their pants. Have you ever heard about that? Leave me a comment. I never thought anything was that funny that I would pee my pants, let alone I got frightened enough to pee my pants. You know, I mean, maybe it's just me. So that was my second fourth grade. That on that fourth grade, I got another B on my Christopher Columbus test. The very same Christopher Columbus, the very first one that I had, and now the second one I had are the same wording. I get a B on my first fourth grade. I get a B on my second fourth grade. Now there's a report card coming in. We got to go. We got to go to another school. Well, it's not around the corner. It's another 2,500 miles back to New Jersey. Isn't that crazy? Hey, let's drive in this one here. Hey, Taiwan. Her house in North Arizona was one of the best barbecues I've ever been to. We had lamb. Yeah, Jerry, this is a great friend of mine. He's in Wyoming, I believe, right now. and he's about ready to have some snow, from what I understand. Now, Jerry was involved with my Aunt Nancy, who was up in Dewey, Arizona. This is just off the top now. I know it'll come full circle here with my fourth grades, but Jerry just mentioned something. We had some great barbecues up in Dewey, Arizona. It's just below Prescott, Arizona, and so I believe Jerry at that time, Aunt Nancy had this big jacuzzi, and nobody was ever allowed in it. But she heated it up for both of us. That was pretty cool, right? We were all sitting in the jacuzzi having a great time, and then I believe we did have some lamb. It was a good times, good memories. She had about 6 acres up there. She ended up selling it, and she moved to Marana. Marana's like a couple hours south of Phoenix. Why she kept moving so far away from people? I don't know. Man, she liked to be independent. So I'm on my second full fourth grade. The next report card comes in from Tonalea School. Dad says, we got to go. I got to go teach in New Jersey. Both my parents were teachers, and I guess Dad he loved teaching New Jersey and Arizona. That's all I can say. Plus some other issues maybe, but I'll bring that up at another time. We get back 2,500 miles to New Jersey. I'm at now Triangle School. Now, I mentioned in the past that Triangle School on my third full fourth grade was the most influential. It influenced me the most out of all 20 of my schools, because we went over so many things, from crystals. Well, not crystals. That was the next year. So I had gone to Triangle School again, but we moved back to Arizona again. I'm just saying, in Triangle School, I learned that sound had vibration to it, that it was able to make corn, classical, was able to make corn grow bushels more than acid rock and jazz. All right, this is all done in New Jersey, a scientific thing that they did back then about plants, and how plants, do they have memory? Do they have awareness? Can plants feel you and all that? And that was the other thing. The guy that came in and lit a match, put it under the leaf of a plant, and on the Richter scale, it went off the scale. The plant had felt a sensation. So the next day, the guy across the room lights another match, and it was hooked up again, and it went off the scale. So this plant knew about fire from across the room. It means it had intelligence, all right? So what's that I'm saying? The corn produced more corn than the cornfields that had no music, and more corn than acid rock. Acid rock and jazz was less corn produced, less bushels, than if it had no sound at all, which is very interesting. It just makes you think about it, right? Which is classical being a three-quarter beat going with your heartbeat. I'm not going to go there because I kind of have in the past. I just want to get through this Christopher Columbus test stuff. So on this fourth grade, just before I get the test, there's current events. We have to bring these current events, and that's what I did. My mom found it. She was fantastic at finding current events. It was a hat and a shield that rolled up on Jersey Shore. It was Viking stuff that I brought into school, and then I had the test, and the test was I changed words around. Who discovered America? I said Christopher Columbus rediscovered America. The Vikings were here first. I get a B+. I got a B+ because I was thinking maybe, who else we got here? Jerry, that's why who is supposed to walk with our shoes? My Aunt Nancy always made us take off our shoes before we went in our house. Dad tried it, but it didn't work. Everybody went in the house here anyway. Aunt Nancy, you had to listen to. She was the matriarch. You listen to matriarchs in your family. So, Jerry, you're bringing back some funny things here. Yeah, we had to take our shoes off before we went in Nancy's house. And I don't think she was Japanese or anything. She was a cleanly person. And you weren't bringing any dirt in her house with your shoes. So on my third fourth grade, I get the same test, same wording, and I get a B plus, and so that was fantastic. And then I also learned in that school, my third for fourth grade in Triangle School, Hillsborough, New Jersey, that we had the it's called the polar shift. It's where both sides flip. It's called the flip. Now they're saying that it's not going to flip this time, but it's been quite a while, and we've had gradual flipping over the years. But I learned that understanding through it was a goofy little cartoon where the polarities were like this, and then they were shifting over like that, and there was up at the top there was more polarities, and at the bottom there was more. There was all little polarities all over the planet that was changing everything. Some people call it climate change, but basically what it comes down to is it's a natural thing that happens every. Well, the rocks that they found were 4 billion years of experience here on the planet, so it happened 180 times. They know this because they've gotten rocks from the Grand Canyon that have shifted, crystallized. The crystallizations within the rocks have reversed themselves. So this shows the scientists that we've had this flipping action for over 180 times. So it's a natural occurrence. Now it hasn't, we might be coming into that now, but I don't want to go there right now because I've kind of done the polar thing if you go back on my lives. So we're just trying to get through Columbus Day here. So I get a B plus on my third for fourth grade. Now it's report card time. What do we got to do? We got to go back to Arizona. Dad says he wants to teach now in Arizona. Plus Aunt Nancy's over there. So we had our family in Arizona. We had our family in New Jersey. So I don't know if it was my mom saying, hey, let's go back and see my parents. My dad said, hey, let's go back and see my parents. I don't know. I really don't know. I never asked them. I should have probably done that. They're both gone. I don't know. This is why you ask people questions before they're gone. You can surmise, which I have, and I'll go into that another time. So now we're back to Kenilworth School. It was built by Frank Lloyd Wright, most opulent school that I had ever been in all 20 of my schools. Excuse me. It was fantastic. He built a lot of homes and stuff. I'll go into Frank Lloyd Wright some other time. But he was a remarkable individual. Actually, they said he was at 63, I believe. That's when he started building all this stuff, and like he lived until his 90s. So they said he was a late bloomer as an architect. Yeah. So we're now back at Kenilworth School. It's just before I'm going to get this stinking same test. I remember drawing dinosaurs. I did the Tyrannosaurus Rex and that other one with the two horns in front that was always fighting the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I could draw them like nobody's business. That was my favorite, those dinosaurs. I don't know why. I just brought it up. So now I get into, this is what I'm saying. I get introduced, I'm going to tell her name, Mrs. Humphrey, in my fourth grade. Mrs. Humphrey. I didn't say it before, but I don't know if Mrs. Humphrey's around. I wish you would be, because I'd like you to leave me a comment. My dad comes in late. It's like 8:30. We're supposed to be there at 8, but Dad is always late everywhere we go, from a movie to a dinner to everywhere else. It's another story. He'd like to discuss things with people. Drove Mom and me crazy, but you know, we had to deal with it. So now I'm coming in late. Mom's behind me holding Bro's hand. He's like in second grade, somewhere in that school. And Dad and me are up front. It's beautiful oak flooring, nice oak desk. Here's Mrs. Humphrey sitting down at her desk. My dad says, hey, I'm really sorry we're late, but I got to go to Scottsdale and teach 5th grade. She wasn't happy. I mean, he thought maybe he'd make some points because he was a teacher. No, I came in late. It was a bad sign. Right off the top, she looked at me. And I'm on my fourth grade, on my 4th report card that hasn't come up yet. So she's looking at me like really mean. So he says, I'll see you later. Teach my son something like that. And everybody leaves. So I'm there stuck alone. I'm standing there. She says, oh, you go sit over by Billy. And I'm sitting, this is like in the kind of, but I'm happy. I got a window seat. It's fantastic. I finally get a window seat. Well, they didn't, They didn't pull me in front of their desk like all the nuns did. Well, she didn't know me. So I'm sitting by the window, and she says, "Oh, by the way, Billy, you will no longer be able to raise the flag in the morning. It'll be the newcomer here. We're going to give Uncle Martin that job, your job." And Billy looks at me like he wants to beat me up. And it's only my first day there. But it's nothing new. Every time I went to a new school, someone wanted to beat me up. At all my 20 schools, somebody wanted to always beat me up. I don't know why. Maybe teachers had something to do with it. Maybe it was I was smiling when I went in. And that's why you kids don't go in smiling. If you're coming into a new school, you go in with a pensive face. Do not go in smiling. Because if it's a Monday, you might get to Friday before they give you the hand and the fist. Just something to put on the back shelf. So I'm looking at Billy. He's ready to, he's not giving me the fist in the hand, but he's giving me the evil eye. And if you're Italian, you know what that means. It's not a happy eye. So it's morning, and now we're getting up to go raise the flag. So I'm taking over Billy's job. So that was a big thing back, by the way, in 1964, to raise the flag, to do the salute, to do the Pledge of Allegiance. That was a big thing, and it should be a big thing because many millions of men died over that flag, first of all. But I'll get into that in a moment. I'm out there raising the flag. I did it like 7-9 days. And then about the 9th day, I'm out there first, and I'm ready to raise the flag. And she's out there with the gang, the class, and she says, I think she did it on purpose, that she brought the whole class. She could have went out there by herself, but I was wondering why she brought the whole class if this is what she's saying. She says, "No, we don't do that anymore." And I'm ready. I'm ready to go with this flag. It's my job. And she says, "No, we don't do that." And I said, "Well, why?" She says, "It's the law." And I said, "Wow, can I do it one more time?" She says, "Yeah." So I got it one more time to raise the flag. We didn't go in and do the Pledge of Allegiance, though. All right? Okay. What do we got? Randall's, I'm back. Well, I don't know where you went, but God bless you for being back. We're on my fourth grade on the same stinking test that I had for all the Christopher Columbuses. The first one was a B. The second one was a B. This third one, when I was at Triangle School, was a B+, because I said Leif Erikson rediscovered America. Now we're finally in the school. I can't raise this flag anymore. It's the law. We don't do Pledge Allegiance anymore. It's the law. 1964. So, what do you put this as? Kids listening, parents, guardians, grandparents, anybody? We haven't had the raising of the flag or Pledge Allegiance for like over 50 years now. And what do we got for kids? Kids that have no respect for the flag, let alone. How about the NFL? How about football players that couldn't stay and salute the flag, do the Pledge of Allegiance? They had to be on their knees. These jokers, NFL people, big, strong guys, because, you know why? They were not taught the significance of the American flag, the freedom, the courage that made what we are today. So when you take that away from people, they lose contact of what the American flag stands for, okay? There's people that hate the American flag. There's people that raise the flag up and they're getting called by the HOO because it makes flapping sounds, so they have to take it down. Oh, yeah, there's lawsuits on that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. So my point being, we're finally up to, what do you got? I'm losing people. I'm going too fast. Well, that's the reason the world is the way it is. BXP, you're quite correct as far as our kids are going in school and even colleges. Colleges have no respect for the American flag. Why? Because we took it out in 1964. We don't raise the flag. We don't do Pledge of Allegiance. Why? Because something about in God we trust. God we trust? Well, yeah. Well, there was something about you can't see God, so he doesn't exist. Or it was against my religion. Well, go stand outside. They didn't do that. Okay, all the school I went to, it was mandatory to stand up at least. To stand up at least, yeah. Hey, Randalls, you live in Washington. Well, at least you stood up, right? You weren't kneeling down like the NFL guys. They couldn't even stand up for the American flag, Pledge Allegiance, and, say, can you see? I mean, whatever they were doing over there, I was national anthem, yeah. They had no respect, see. And that's why I have no longer any respect for the NFL. I love football, but as I see what they're doing to these cheerleaders and everything else, I've had it. I'm done. I will not watch another football game. That's the way I feel about it. I love football. I played football. I was the right guard, man. I'd live for football. But what I'm seeing now is a lack of respect for the American flag, let alone it's a big corporate enterprise just on what you're going to buy, right? I don't want to go there, but I already did. So now we're on my fourth grade, same test Mrs. Humphrey's handing out. And she's saying, I got a Christopher Columbus test for everybody to take. And I'm thinking in my mind, there's no way in heck I can have the same test 4 times in a row. But it happened. I look at the test and I look at her. She looks at me. She says, what are you smiling about? I said, well, nothing. I'm not smiling about nothing. I'm just happy to be here. And that's what I'm saying. I did something negative. I could have said to her, hey, teach, I've had this 3 times. Now it's on the 4th time. I'm getting the same test, same wording. In fact, the last time I took this test, I got a B+. But I didn't say any of that stuff. I was mum. Mum's the word. I thought I was going to get an A. And by the way, on those other tests, I had like 2 red circles that were wrong answers. Always look up the right answer. I never did. Out of all those 3 other tests, I never looked it up. If I would have, I could have probably got a better grade. But I didn't. That's what I'm saying. Always do that, just for the heck of it. Just find out what the right answer is for nothing else. So I take the test. All I do is the same stinking wording, and I do the same thing I did on my 3rd for 4th grade. Leif Erikson was here first. Christopher Columbus rediscovered America. Now the next day, she's handing out A's, B's, me, D minus. Now I look at this, I'm saying D minus, and she's looking at me like, don't even mention it. I didn't want to say a thing. Mrs. Humphrey was a tough one. She had her mindset on a lot of things. So I'm going home, I'm walking home, it's only like a couple blocks away from home, and I'm thinking in my mind, Dad is a teacher, and he says if I ever come home with a D minus or an F, I'm going to get a black belt beating like I never had before. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this isn't my fault. It's not my fault. I got a B plus, same test. I'm getting a D minus. There's something wrong here. So I go home, and I think after dinner, about dessert time, I said, oh, by the way, see, I at least wanted my dessert. And I said, by the way, this is the paper that I took a test. And Dad says, a D minus. Mom says, that's ridiculous. There's no way. Because she saw Christopher Columbus. And she remembers she had my other 3. She saved things. She saved all my report cards. I got 20 report cards from 20 of my schools. I'll have to go into that sometime. I didn't even look at them lately. I mean, I have never looked at them. I looked at one of them. And the teacher had a lot of stuff writing on the back. I think it was it was either my 1st or 2nd, 5th grade. And my point being, Mom had all my tests. And she compared it and said, well, you did the same thing this time as you did get a B+. And Dad saying, oh, well, really? So I'm not going to get a black belt. Which was fantastic. And I told them both, I said, this teacher is wrong. And Mom says, no, you can never say that. What you can say is, here's the current event. She said the current event. Here's the current event. You bring it into Mrs. Humphrey. You show her the evidence. There's always evidence. And you say, would you please reassess my grade? And Dad says, yep, that's what you do. I went back to school next day. I said, I had the D minus paper with me, and I said, would you please reassess this grade? She says, no. I said, but I got this current event. And she looked at the current event and said, oh, yeah, I know. I read that. That was like a couple months ago. That's when I was back in New Jersey. She says, I know about that. And then I said, well, that means that this book that we're reading is wrong. She says, oh, ooh. You never tell a teacher their book is wrong. They believe the book. A lot of people read books and they believe it. whether it be a handbook from where you're working, they believe it by the letter, like you can't bring a thermos in, or you have to wear certain clothing, or you guys out there that are working, you have a handbook. Some are small, some are big, but they all have wording, and you have to follow it. You have to follow the law. And then policemen have their little books. People that read the Bible literally, they have their little book, their big book. There's people that have all these books that they read, and that's all they see is that book. They see the law, but they don't know about the spirit of the law. See? And that'll be another day when we go into the spirit of the law versus the law. I can't wait for that. So what we have here is me telling a teacher that her book is wrong, that she believes in. Very negative. So she comes up with this. Well, Uncle Martin, would you like an A? And I said, I would love an A. She says, well, all you have to do to get an A is follow what's in the book. I said, oh, really? Oh, I pretended to be amazed. I was 10 years old, and there was a light going through me that I saw it all. I saw it all now. Not only politics. Well, I didn't know about the politics with the American flag yet till later on. How when they take it away from you, and kids have no respect for the American flag. This is what we got now. Kids in school and college that have not a clue on freedom and courage and dying for your country. Well, I don't know if I'd go into another backyard like Muhammad Ali said, but anybody comes on this property, or no, yeah, my property, I guess, but the United States, and there's a bunch of them here, so maybe we'll have something soon. I don't know. I hope not. But then I'll stand forward and do my duty. What we're saying here is this teacher had her mindset that if I wanted an A, I had to follow what was in the book, which was a lie. She wanted me to follow a lie. Now, I don't know if professors that are what they're professing, if they understand it to be a lie, but I believe maybe some of them do. I don't want to be judgmental, but I had a fourth grade teacher that understood it, that this book, she knew it was a lie, but she wanted me to follow it to get an A. Nah, I wasn't going there. So for the next 16 schools, I never read a book. Not until I got out of school, and I got into Sanskrit, Egyptian, hieroglyphics, Babylonian, Sumerian, all the good stuff from the ancients that nobody wants to talk about. I'll talk about it though on another day. We have a teacher that wants me to fulfill her request of following what is a lie, and I pretended I would, and I got A's after that. I didn't read a book, but I just went along with what she said, and when I go along to get an A. And that's what kids are doing today. They're probably not standing up and asking many questions because they want that A. It's not that important. You can have a B and still get into college. A lot of presidents didn't even have that. They had C to a D. I don't want to go there. So we have a lot of information that we're being fed that is not, it's half a truth. Not even the full truth. And until you have discernment, have that, you have knowledge that you're applying correctly, you get wisdom, and then from wisdom you get discernment. And through that discernment, you can choose right or left. But unfortunately, we have in colleges kids being taught that there's only one way of thinking, and anything that doesn't think that way is a boo, boo, and they don't listen to the other side. And that's why we're in the dilemma we are right now. There's only one-sided thinking. There's people with no discernment. It's very negative. It's gonna have some problems down the road here, if not already, if you haven't noticed, with all these situations applying to different parts of the planet, including our own United States. So happy Christopher Columbus Day. I just wanted to say, that's what. See, when I actually was doing research into this, I just want you all to look up something for me that I'm not making up this Leif Erikson thing. Um, if I only had this information, but I don't think it would have made a difference because I wasn't following what was in her book. The Vikings were here 500 years before Columbus. We know this now because as you go down the coastline of New Jersey and take the coastline down, it's by Bernanke Bay Lighthouse. It was 500 years ago. It's called the Viking Village at Bernanke Bay and Lighthouse. How you can remember that really easy is remember Stripes when Murray and that girl were going in. Hey, that's General Bernanke Bay's house. You know, Bernanke Bay. That's the guy. I don't know if he was related, but Bernanke Bay is what you look up. Viking Village. New Jersey Viking Village. That'll do it too. They found artifacts. They found the whole village there for 500 years before. And that's what I'm saying. The Vikings not only were there, but they were at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And I've discussed that before, that no-fly zone, that we can't go into that cave anymore. First things you come into on that cave is the Vikings, then the Egyptians, then people from India. And it seats over 500,000 people there. But nobody can go in there. Imagine that. What are they trying to hold something back from us? Well, this is information, again, that the people aren't getting. In fact, you'll never get it because if you try to get in there, you get arrested. So this stuff is, the truth has to come out eventually. As they say, truth is like oil. Eventually it rises to the surface. And a lot of truth is coming up to the surface now, by the way. So I can't wait when it really hits the fan on Hollywood and more of the politics that we have. I don't know if it's going to happen as far as anybody getting in trouble, but at least the people, if not already, can see a lot of things are happening here. And, you know, they're learning things. So it's about to rain again on us. I can feel it and I can see it, lightning over there. So until we see maybe tomorrow, I don't know. Today's Monday, the 13th of Monday of October. And I'll do my best to get over here on Tuesday. But otherwise, again, anybody's out there still, thumbs up, thumbs down, comment would be great. Any newcomers, you join my club, I'll join yours. I don't want you just being a subscriber until you feel good about it, all right? There's no pressure here. I want you to be 100% like this dog. I have nothing, boy. I love this dog. Skippy's inside. I meant to let him out. Okay, so we'll see you soon. Until then, God victory and be well.